to 65, 67. Taste.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll all please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, thank you. You may be seated. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you, Commissioners, for being here tonight. Okay. First item on the agenda, determination of quorum. We do have that. And then moving on to the public forum. Any input before we move into the public forum?
No, Mr. Mayor. Oh, if you will note on your revised agenda, we have Representative Chesser here to present an award.
Okay. All right, so we will we'll start with that. We have a presentation from Representative Chesser to Commissioner Toney with his service with the Nash County Sheriff's Office. Commissioner Toney, if you want to step forward.
Promise was made. Those of you guys that don't know, on the day, call you Brother Toney, we established that already. Brother Toney's retirement, I had very short notice that was taking place. So I like to present flags to people to commemorate achievements that they've had in their lifetime. But his was still flying over the Capitol. So I couldn't give it to him that day. I told him I'd get it to him and present it to him at the next meeting. That's today. So here it is, sir. Your flag that's flown over the Capitol to commemorate you retired from the Nash County Sheriff's Office. Appreciate that.
Let's give Representative Chesser a hand of applause also. He's brought back several millions of dollars to the county and lots of things here in Spring Hope as well. So thank you, Representative Chesser, for your interest in Spring Hope and your support of our town and the financial support as well. Thank you for that. Thank you, sir. All right, so we do have a public forum. Is there anyone registered to speak, Michelle? No? Okay. All right, moving on to the minutes of our last board meeting, 6 May 2024. If we can get a motion to approve those.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as printed in the agenda.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on. We're going to pick back up where we left off on the system development fee. Do we have anyone here to speak on that?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to inform the board that we have entered the public hearing period. System development fee report, I believe we shared it with the board. It's also available on the town's website for review. And the public hearing period is 45 days, and we'll be taking it up again.
Okay. So we got a public hearing of 45 days for the system development fee. Do you know when that started?
When the public hearing period started, I don't have the exact date.
Okay.
I will let you know.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Moving on to,
Hold on, so this is the time where you speak on the development fees? Or no?
any, sure. Any questions or comments? The board didn't say any, but if they'd like to speak or ask anything,
Okay.
this would be their time.
Well, we'd have to go into public forum, go into
Well,
public.
it's not officially a public hearing. It's the public hearing period has been opened up. It's different than having a formal public hearing process.
Will we have a formal public hearing?
I don't believe there is one required as part of the system development fee, so and since Mr. White is a developer who's well-known in town, I don't think it would be untoward to hear from him.
Now, Mr. White, it'll be up to the commissioners if they want to let anyone speak now on this topic. Commissioners, any objections? Okay.
I mean, I'm for the system development fees, but one thing that I would like the board to keep in mind is this is kind of an outskirts town, and I think I want everybody to keep in mind the amount of fees that you're gonna charge, because obviously that puts an impact on development. So I think if you could keep it around the $1,500 mark, because we're already paying $2,500 tap fees. So this is an addition to, this is almost $4,000 per house that is costing us after development. And one thing that I look at is, you know, there hasn't been any development out here in almost 20 years until I started. And I think, just ballparking, we've increased the town's yearly revenue with what we have on the ground right now, about $215,000 a year to the tax base. And just seeing, you know, how the town's been able to grow. And I mean, I love to see the town grow. You know, how we've got our own public works department now. We've added sheriffs, or not sheriffs, but town police. We've added equipment. Y'all approved a payroll for another one. So I just want to keep in mind, you know, not to let the fees get too excessive, because I think it will hamper growth moving forward. So that's all.
Thank you,
Got
Tom.
any questions for Tom? Okay. All right then, so the public hearing is set from 45 dates. Town manager will give that information to the newspaper. They'll get that printed. Moving on to the public hearing for fiscal year 25 proposed budget. So if we can get a motion to go into public hearing for the budget, please.
Make a motion, go into public hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And just to let everyone know, if you're speaking tonight, this is specifically about the proposed fiscal year 25 budget. So just make sure to keep it on topic. If you do have any public comments, we welcome all of you to please come and ask questions or give your thoughts on our budget. It's been a lot of work going into it. The town is very financially responsible, very fiscal. We are also removed, I think we are removed, if not in the process of removing ourselves from the local government commission's watch list, which is a testament to how much we've improved on our finances in the past few years. So congratulations to you all for that. And with that, if anyone would like to speak from the public, please come forward. Okay. Hello, Miss Peggy.
Garden Club. And we have prepared a proposal for the town for our funding and our resources and our support. And it's quite lengthy. It's a big book here. And we want to present that to you tonight and have the commissioners take a look at this. I get nothing but compliments from what we're doing here, and we've been doing this since 2021. We have raffles, we have fundraisers, we present itemizations to the town, and we need definite support from the town and funding from the town. So this is our funding request, and want to remind you it's National Garden Week from June the 2nd through the 8th. In addition to that, we are holding a raffle, and for Father's Day meal at Showside, $5, and it's a $50 certificate. So see me after the meeting if you'd like a ticket. So, should I just give this to?
Please submit that to the board for their consideration.
Thank you so much.
The board will accept.
Any questions? Yes, you have a question?
Am I allowed to ask a question?
For public forum?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're-
Pertaining to the budget.
Okay, so you're submitting a budget, what's the total amount that you're asking for?
Carolyn prepared it. Do you have a total amount?
We had $1,700. How does that compare to last year?
Uh,
three biggest expenditures that you?
The flowers. And you have to remember, we're saving the town a lot of money on labor. Our club puts in untold hours, watering, replanting,
Oh, so you
taking
do all
out.
the maintenance of said?
Oh, yes, oh, yeah.
How big? is your
All right.
club?
We have about 6 core members and then other people that help us when we have work days and so forth.
And
All
where
right,
do
stick to topic,
Where do
please.
we put them?
Stick to the budget topic. Questions,
Oh, it has to
please.
be money.
Now, we do, and Ms. Peggy, we have a spot reserved for you right at the chamber updates, because you know the chamber will do their updates in our agenda. So I do
Okay.
have some time for you later if you're able to stick around and come
Okay.
back up and give us
All right.
all the goodies of this information.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. Anyone else from the public? Okay. If no one else from the public would like to speak about the fiscal year 25 proposed budget, we just need to get a motion to go back into regular session.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, any questions or comments from the board? It's open to you all. You can speak freely as you like, ask questions of the manager or finance
If I
director,
may,
is that right?
Can I just, so Michelle has prepared for all of you 2 versions of the budget that are updated from the version you got in your packets, based on the county's latest revisions of the total valuation. So you'll see, Michelle has kindly printed them both out. You'll see a 65 and a 67. The 67 is keeping the rate at its current 67 cents per hundred. The 65 is dropping it 2 cents to 65 cents, of course. The difference is approximately $26,000, I believe, between the two. And that difference would be spent entirely on the Spring Hope PD to hire that 8th officer. There's been some confusion about these officers. So we have had officers come and go. We have had steadily, I think, for the better part of this year, 6 officers, and more recently, a 7th officer. But when I say 7 officers, you have to remember there's the chief, counts as a full-time employee in FTE, and Lieutenant Leary, who does patrol and spends some time out on the streets, but also has a lot of administrative tasks. So those are 2 admin officers that, so let's just say that, you know, and I think if the chief had his preference, Lieutenant Leary would spend more of his time in the office and with supervision. So we really only have the patrol officers are really only the 5, and could be potentially the 6th with adopting the 67-cent per hundred rate. So I just want to make that clear to the board, but that's all I have.
Give the commissioners a moment to review documents. All right, do we have any questions or comments before we entertain motions for the budget?
Well, I'd make a motion that we approve the fiscal year 2024, 2025 budget at a 0.67 cent rate.
I second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. No comments, questions from the board. Motion has been approved. Moving on to consideration of reorganization and compensation and classification system. Mr. Deanna, would you like to give us the details of this?
Sure. The board has, in their packets, everything but the job descriptions for this goes along with the budget. We have not had an updated classification system since 1999, I believe. So it's been quite a while. So this creates a new salary classification system, creates the room for people over the course of, I believe, 11 steps to have some merit increases along the way. So this will go a long way toward addressing some of the issues we've had with compensation in the past.
We finally have us a compensation and classification system, so we need to entertain an adoption of the reorganization and compensation and classification system that we now have before you to approve.
I make a motion that we adopt the organization classification system as presented in the packet.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consideration of the Spring Hope Police Department Career Development Policy. Can you tell us about this?
So it's basically the same as the town one, except it's going to be a little bit more specific to law enforcement. So it's going to be broken down into 3 different categories. You're going to have, or 4 different categories if you count a straight out of the academy rookie that would come in at the base pay. Then the next step would be a first class officer. And the way that's written is they would have at least 2 years of service and have 120 hours in training with the core classes that I think would make them be able to qualify for that. And the classes that I chose for that are going to be your entry-level classes such as radar, standardized field sobriety, and one that I think is very important, which is officer survival. It's one of the best classes that a new hire can go to. So once they have that years of service, they have 120 hours of training in those 3 mandatory core classes, they would qualify for a first-class officer, which would give them that bump that's specified there.
At any time they reach that
At
criteria?
any time that they reach that criteria. And then the next step is going to be basically the exact same thing. I don't remember exactly how we did it, if master comes before senior or senior comes before master, but you have a master officer which would follow first class and a senior which would follow the master, which would put them at the top level. Basically, the exact same thing goes for that, except in law enforcement, you have professional certificates. So over a certain amount of time, so when you hire a new police officer, he's awarded a probationary certificate from Training and Standards. After 1 year of service, full-time, he's awarded his general cert. The next 2 certs that come after that is gonna be your intermediate and advanced. So depending on what education you have and experience you have, it's not easy to obtain. So your intermediate with a 4-year degree is going to be at least 6 years of service and probably around 600 to 800 training hours to get that. So that would give you your next step. And then your next step would be your advanced certificate, which would be 9 to 12 years of service with a degree or without a degree. Having a degree, basically what that does is it just requires more on-the-job training versus your degree. So those are going to be the steps for that. We also have for a college degree, if you have a 4-year degree from accredited school, that would give you an additional percentage to come in the door on top of once you achieve the other things, and then bilingual on top of that.
So this is actually in addition to the steps, because the police department still has salary steps, but they would also have this as an additional incentive to the certification and training process.
Well, and it also allows us to be able to try to recruit experienced officers. So if you have a 7 or 8 year veteran officer at another agency that's looking to go to a smaller department, and he can come in and say, well, this is what I've got to offer, this is my years of service, this is my certifications, then he could come in at his, that the pay plus the additional percentages on top of that, which is pretty much what everybody in North Carolina does. We just are a little bit behind the ball on that.
So the first class, that first step, that can happen pretty quickly. So an officer could
As
come
long
in
as they have
and
2
get a
years of
raise
service.
within 90 days if they were really a superstar,
Well,
right?
you have to have 2 years of service.
2 years for that first one. Okay, so they come in at a base pay, it's gonna take them at least 2 years to get the first one? Is that what you're saying?
Well, at least 2 years, yeah. I mean, they
Okay.
could get the mandatory training within the first, I would say, 6 months, but depending on where it's offered and it being allowed to go and whether the manpower allows it to be able to happen. And then after that, they have to go the 2 years with no major disciplinary actions and so on before they can qualify for the other. But, and, you know, and it's just like, you know, you have that starting pay as well. So we have a starting pay for that rookie straight out of the academy, 20 years old. We have that established, we have that number. But if you have an officer with 2 or 3 years of service that doesn't have those mandatory trainings and so on, we still have the ability now with these steps and with this done to be able to say, okay, well, you're worth a little bit more than starting pay, but we also need to figure in that we're gonna give you that bump once you get that. So you
need
got
to
a little
work.
guideline to go by, instead of saying, you got 3 years, but you have to come in at rookie pay. No, that's not the case. That's when me and the town manager would sit down and say, this is what he's got to offer, this is what he has, he doesn't have the classes yet. And then the town also has a 6-month probationary period, which wouldn't allow anybody to come in and jump straight to that.
Okay. So they technically could, if they really go after it, month 7 or 8, they could get a raise.
It's just another tool for
Yeah, it's ju-
attraction and retention.
awesome.
Yeah, it really just it depends on their years of service.
That's fantastic. That's
But
really great.
we also have a dilemma now to where, you know, with that there, you could have someone technically to come in the door with 20 years of service that has an advanced certificate, can speak Spanish and have a college degree that would come in knocking on what the lieutenants are making. So, you know, do I see that happening? Do I see that being a problem? Not right now, but, you know, we are growing and that could happen. I mean, that would be for 25, 26 to talk about, but, you know, I think right now this is a huge step in the right direction.
When officers are shopping for somewhere to work, is there like a factor they consider, like when people buy houses, a crime rating? Is there like a you know,
Well, it really
likelihood to
depends on-
survive and live?
Well, it depends
Is there a-
on the maturity and the age of the person that you're hiring. You have a certain group that's going to come in and say, what can you pay me, what can you pay me, what can you pay me?
Right.
And then you have another group that comes in and says, money's important, but quality of life and not waking my wife up at night grinding my teeth is also a perk. You know, so it's to play on that fine line of having quality of life, having a good department to work for, and having a good salary is what makes people want to come to you.
You've obviously put a lot of thought into it. You've obviously done a great job at leadership, keeping officers here when the pay wasn't what it should have been. Every officer I talked to attests to that. So congratulations on excellent leadership and
Thank you.
guidance in keeping these people around. And I think you've really put together a good classification and pay structure for your
Thank you.
police department. All right, so if we can get a motion to adopt the Spring Hope Police Department Career Development Policy.
Make the motion to adopt the Spring Hope PD Career Development Policy.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. All right, consideration of the revised Spring Hope Personnel Policy. Do you want to
Yes, sir. So-
simplify this one?
Yeah, just briefly, again, the personnel policy is something that dates back to, with no significant changes, 1999. So it basically, I think the current document is maybe 30 pages long. This is about double that size, 72 pages. And it, basically all the current stuff that you would find in any personnel document, Family Medical Leave Act, and, you know, what happens when you get called back into work and so on. So it takes all those policies that we have, that some of which have been unwritten, and just formalizes them.
All right, any questions from the commissioners? If not, we can get a motion to adopt. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, consideration of Budget Amendment 8 for the Enterprise Fund. Ms. Finance Director, is that correct? Ms. Finance Director, if you could please let us know that with your new classification.
Thus, budget amendment number 8 is to move some money into salaries for the water and sewer.
Any questions from the board on Amendment 8? If not, we'll get a motion to approve the Amendment 8 for the Enterprise Fund.
Make a motion that we approve budget amendment 2024-08.
Do we have a all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consideration of discoveries and releases.
This is the annual discoveries and releases from tax collector. And Michelle, do you have anything to add to it? So it's just pro forma that the board has to do every year.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looked thorough and it looked complete, and appreciate you putting the work into it.
Actually, Sandra did it.
Yeah.
What's that?
Sandra actually did it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sandra, for doing that. Okay, if we can get a motion for acceptance of the discoveries and releases.
Make a motion to accept discoveries and releases.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Next up is consideration of request for funding for the 2023 appropriation. We'll let
So,
you,
how fortuitous that Representative Chesser was here this evening. Both he and Senator Barnes had a big hand to play in that. That's the $3 million that was awarded to the town in legislative appropriation in October of 2023. We have not yet programmed the money. Bobby, who is here tonight, has specifically requested from Wooten that they develop a plan to focus on the collection system and the wastewater treatment plant. So we have had some ongoing issues with inflow and infiltration. Who hasn't? This is Eastern Carolina, so this is with the vitreous pipe is an issue just about everywhere. But it begins to address the collection system and also some much-needed funds for the wastewater treatment plant, specifically some of the ongoing issues we've had with the secondary clarifiers and the mechanical bar screen and so on. Bobby, did you have anything to add to that? So the 3.7, which we're getting ready to, actually Bobby and I reviewed the latest iteration, which are 90% drawings, was it a week ago? About a week ago. And we already have the DOT permits for that, and that's the water distribution system. This begins to address the collection and treatment system.
all right. Very thorough. Appreciate your documentation. Any questions of the board? If not, we'll get a motion for acceptance of request for funding for the 2023 appropriation.
Make a motion, we accept the request for funding for the 2023 appropriation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, here's a good one. Mr. Deanna, please tell us about restoring the 1 mile radius to the ETJ.
So I've had some conversations with this board previously about restoring the ETJ when the corporate limits have been extended in the past. The ETJ was not correspondingly extended outward, so this begins to address that, and had some conversations with Stacy at the county to notify her that this was our intent. I don't believe because it restores the 1 mile radius, we actually don't need county permission for that, but that's maybe something that the town attorney can address.
If
But-
you'll please, attorney.
Well, that's correct.
Okay.
But what we do have to have is a public hearing and all that, so basically we're undertaking that process.
All right, so what, we need to make a motion to start the process of a public hearing to restore the 1 mile radius of the ETJ. We need a motion for that, right?
Yes,
We make a motion, you start the process of restoring the 1 mile radius of the ETJ, 1 mile from the current extended corporate limits.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, board members, for being here to vote on all of these items tonight. We're going to move on to other items, and we have Freddie Howe here. I'm going to let him step in right before the Spring Hope Chamber report. We acknowledged Representative Chesser. We're going to let Freddie Howe come and speak as well.
I was just here tonight. I couldn't attend his ceremony when he retired. I just want to be present tonight when he was presenting the flag for all his efforts and his work here for Nash County and what he does. And just want to say congratulations. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Freddie Howe. Appreciate you being here. Next up is the Spring Hope Chamber report. Okay, and now for the Garden Club, if you want to just give us some more information, or if there was anything else you didn't get a chance to say.
It's in our report. Everything's in our report.
Yes, yes, yes.
So we do hope that the commissioners get a chance to look at that. We put a lot of effort into that.
You know, it was one of the easiest, but one of the most overlooked transitions that could have happened in this town. And then once you guys looked upon it, it was no longer overlooked, and it became something that everybody likes to look at. The flowers are beautiful. You know, I see them all around town. I see y'all out there watering them all the time, especially you three. I see y'all out there all the time. So thank y'all for what you're doing. It's
And we try to use native plants and, remember the ecosystem and all that.
And we try to recycle the spent flowers.
Oh, yes, we do a lot of that.
We service the Hopedale Cemetery. We do burials at Spalding. Hope it'll come back. If it comes back, we keep recycling.
I know it's color year round. Everywhere that you guys have put your stamp on it or put your ring around it, it's colors year round everywhere you touch. So thank you. It's beautiful. My wife loves it. I enjoy it. She's a gardener too. So one day.
Post office especially, because that place over there was dreadful. If you remember, the tree roots were all
Oh, yeah.
exposed and everything. And we made a big project out of that, and it turned out really good.
Turned out wonderful.
Increase the sight line by cutting down the weeds that are impeding vision at the corner at the post office.
It starts at a vision. You made it come to life.
It was overgrown, and people couldn't see the traffic when they were coming out, so we took care of that.
That's right. I remember that too. I remember that too. I remember all this. Yep. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Thanks for loving Spring Hope like you do. All right. Next up, reports, code enforcement.
I
Yes.
know Sean Lucas was planning, I don't think he's here. I think he was planning on being here, but he might have gotten held up. I know that, and you have his report, I know it's brief, but we have had conversations about specific properties as recently as this morning. And Hopkins Ave has been a focus for him, and a couple other places in town, including West Main Street, where there's 409 specifically. And I've been in touch with the property developer there, who is out of Cary, about cleaning that site up. There's some trees downed and a building that's actually been impacted by one of the downed trees. So it's been a work in progress.
I'm glad it's still a work in progress.
So
Okay.
I have a question about this brief report, because that's kind of an understatement. We used to get a detailed we could tell what, at least a breakdown. I know a few months back, we talked about the automotive issues, and I have not seen anything reported whatsoever. There was an ordinance adopted for stack parking, as well as, their 4-year term is to come into compliance. Once again, wraps. I'd really like to see the things he's got accomplished, especially in that commercial side of it, because I'm now seeing easy up tents and tires stacked up and working on cars in parking lots. So, seems like it's going in the other direction. So I'd like to see a little more detail than that.
There has been a focus on tall grass and junk in yards, and not as much on the commercial. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, that was a request though, about 3 months back, and so Every month it's about tall grass and junk cars. I'd like to see some other progress made, if I could.
Understood.
Police Department report. Thank you, Commissioner Cohen.
Today, we had an officer out today, and myself and Lieutenant Leary got slammed pretty much all day. We didn't get this done until about 6:30. There's a couple things that aren't on here. We put the more important things on here. You have a couple minor things, disturbance type things like that would normally be on here that are not. So we've got those 4 listed incident reports. We had 121 calls for service. We had 50 traffic stops, 39 security checks, and like I always say before, those security checks in our CAD system, the way that works is when we check off to do a security check at Food Line, it only logs as 1 security check, but obviously they're checking everything in that subdivision or in that shopping center. So those numbers, don't let the lower numbers fool you. They're actually doing a really good job locating break-ins before the business owners do. We had 9 traffic accidents. We had 5 domestic disturbance without charges. We had 16 disturbances / fight calls, 13 total investigations with 10 cases cleared.
What is a disturbance?
Do what?
What is a disturbance? An example of a disturbance?
As the definition would say in the dictionary, just be a disturbance. Would
Okay.
Could be anything. Could be 2 people arguing at a gas station. Could be people fighting in the front yard over a dog barking. I mean, it's a disturbance.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Police Chief? Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
All right, Manager's report.
Well, you have my report. Any questions or concerns beyond anything we've discussed tonight?
If not, then we'll need to go into closed session, so we need to get a motion to do that.
Make a motion, we go to closed session for closed session.
And I just want to let people know that there won't be a vote after closed session, so.
Second.
Thank y'all for coming in tonight. Bye, Freddie.
You too, Bonnie.
Bye, Ms. Pam.
I have no idea.
Bye, Corey.
Do you need anything else?
You'll let me know.
Corey, I'm sure.
Yeah, there are a few questions.
Oh, he's in fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Disappeared.
She's on vacation.
Who, Hannah?
Yeah.
Oh, she quit?
Oh, did she? Oh, yeah. Oh, y'all are besties now. Y'all stay in
I just
contact.
know she came in here and said she was quitting. She gave us some flowers and said, thank you for being nice to me. And I asked her.
Oh, we saw her one day hanging out with Nikki